Why do we like to see our heroes suffer? Specifically, Spider-Man. It feels like every adaptation of him, we just see him go through more and more traumatic events, from losing Uncle Ben, to losing Gwen, to just having to deal with constant pain and death. And as fans, we even complain when Spider-Man is having it too good. I specifically remember when Homecoming was coming out, everyone was complaining that he had this stable and happy relationship with Tony Stark, and that it made his life too easy. I think this stems from what Spider-Man was created to be back in the 1960s. He was made to be this character of great sacrifice who is constantly putting himself in danger for the sake of others. And it worked when it paid off. What we've seen a lot in modern comics is all of the pain and all the consequence without any of the rewards of being Spider-Man. And I think that's something a little known show tackled very well.
Am the Spectacular Spider-Man! Only one.
That's right. I'm talking about Spectacular Spider-Man today. Now, while Spider-Man never necessarily spent a lot of time in high school, as a matter of fact, by issue 28, the brother was out of high school. But this show encapsulates everything Spider-Man has ever been in the high school setting in an extremely great way. And I want to talk about that today. Despite Spectacular Spider-Man being a kid's show, it tackles consequences very well. It's a show about consequences, and now sometimes those consequences are good, but other times those consequences aren't so good. We see times where Spider-Man is struggling to help his Aunt May pay bills, or where he's literally getting his ass kicked in the middle of a garbage center because that's just Spider-Man's life. In other instances, we get to see him getting with the girl of what he believes is his dreams, Liz Allen. And that is a heavy thing throughout the show, but no episode I think in the first season exemplifies that more than episode 3, Natural Selection. It's an episode about Dr. Kurt Connors. It opens with Peter having stopped another crime like always, but failing to take good photos for the Daily Bugle so he could win their contest and become their photographer. And to compound on top of this, this brother has to go to school and get water balloons thrown at him by his high school bully. And once he starts dodging them and using his spider senses, he has to take a second and realize that's not why I have this power. Secret identities suck. Peter made the active decision to let himself get bullied. But then there's a sweet moment where Gwen steps in for him. It's the idea that he has people in his corner. Hell, Dr. Connors recently regrew his arm in this episode, and he gets to go after school and go celebrate an entire scientific discovery. Until that scientific discovery turns itself on its own head. Since Dr. Connors didn't test his new serum on anything other than himself, he ends up turning himself into a lizard, a literal lizard, all because he wanted to have his arm back and because he wanted to make a scientific leap. And of course, in order for Peter to help, he has to play the asshat in the situation.
I should get going too. Aunt May will ground me if I'm not home by 10.
Pete, you can't leave now. We have to help.
Well, I can't be late. She worries.
Peter, wait!
How could he just...
I guess he's scared. First Electro, now this.
So for Peter to go play as Spider-Man, Peter once again has to suffer. Peter has to look like the asshole who abandons his friends so that Spider-Man can go and save the day from a lizard creature that I highly doubt anybody in New York would be prepared to deal with, considering him and Spider-Man go blow for blow this episode. And the only other person crazy enough to try this is Eddie Brock, because in this show, Eddie Brock is a G, at least for the first season. And what does Spider-Man get for his efforts? A broken hand. He breaks his hand trying to once again save people from the crazy lizard in the sewers. Another thing this show did extremely well was showing that Peter wasn't all brawn. He, in fact, uses his brain to solve a lot of the problems with villains. Like in the previous episode with Electro, Peter had decided to try and talk Max Dillon down instead of just fighting him. And now he's going for the cure for the lizard instead of just fighting him straight up. And while I might have just praised his intelligence, he also did chase the lizard into his own habitat and let the lizard take him underwater, where he almost drowned to death if it wasn't for Eddie Brock being there to pull him back out of the water. Now, Peter does eventually decide to use his brain and figures if he takes the reptile to the cold water area, then that would most likely make for a better way to fight the lizard if he's able to cool him down and slow him down. And this will be able for him at least to be able to administer the antidote with just a little extra help from Eddie and the lizard, Kurt Connors' son. And with the day saved, everything seems great, except for the fact that Peter used the photos of the lizard to win the Spider-Man photo shoot contest. He bailed on his friends to go take pictures of Spider-Man fighting the lizard and potentially incriminate his mentor in Dr. Connors. And to his friends, it's a gigantic betrayal. Everybody sees him as a terrible, slimy person, and he loses almost completely the friendship of Eddie Brock. He loses his internship, and him and Gwen, his closest friend since childhood, are now on shaky terms.
I never asked for these powers. I never knew it would mean a bashed up hand, a hard 9 p.m. curfew, no job, and friends who all think I'm scum. It's all just a twist of fate. Bad luck, a random bug bite. Easiest decision I ever made.
But Peter stops himself. He looks at what Uncle Ben taught him. With great power comes great responsibility. He owes a responsibility to help these people. And he decides to take a second and take a step back and look at the positive that he did that night. He was able to get Aunt May the money she needed to pay for her bills. He was able to take care of Dr. Connors and make sure he stays out of prison and stays with his family. And so Spider-Man gets to stay another day. I believe we like to see characters like Spider-Man go through trials and tribulations constantly because it relates more to us. I love the concept of Superman. I love the idea of an infallible hero, but that's not relatable. It's not oftentimes true. Peter Parker is a flawed and relatable hero, someone you can understand as a person. And I believe that's why he resonates so well with viewers, with comic readers, with moviegoers, and why we complain as a Spider-Man fan base as to why he isn't facing enough scrutiny or enough trials and tribulations. But I also think as a fan base, we need to draw a line and where it sort of stops being a normal dude going through real struggles and just starts being almost blatant hatred for the character, like the current Amazing Spider-Man run. That's why the new Ultimate Spider-Man run is looking to be so popular. We're finally getting the balance back, and that's why we like to see our heroes fail and fall. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. I know it's on the shorter end of my video essays, but it is a cartoon after all. There's about 22 minutes in it, and I didn't want to talk about the entire show in one go. So if you like the video, like the video. If you want to comment your favorite Spider-Man down in the comments, that's amazing. Thank you all for watching. If you want to see these videos unedited and uploaded early, you can go to my Patreon. It's about $1 a month, and it would really help me to continue to work on these videos and get them out. And I just wanted to say thank you all for almost 700 subscribers.